Single area OSPF version 2 configuration. Addressing table. Headquarters, router 1, router 2, and router 3. And data services, router 1, router 2, and router 3. Your job is to complete the OSPF configuration. Okay, for example, go to router 1 on headquarters. Okay, click here. Enter enable show running config, and you will see the IP addresses on interfaces already configured. Okay. And all interfaces on the network already configured with IP addresses. You need to configure OSPF. OSPF dynamic routing. Requirements. Use process ID for OSPF activation on all routers. Okay, on all routers, process ID 10 for OSPF. Activate OSPF using network statements and inverse mask on the routers in the headquarters network. Okay, here on headquarters network, on this section, use network statements and wildcard masks or inverse masks. Activate OSPF by configuring the interfaces on the network devices in the data service network. Okay, on data services network, configure on this section, use the OSPF on interfaces. Okay, configure router IDs on the multi-access network. Okay, configure router IDs on this section on multi-access network, on data services. Okay, on headquarters, the connection between routers is point-to-point, but on data services is multi-access network. Configure OSPF so that the routing updates are not sent into networks where they are not required. Okay, this means use passive interface. Configure router BC1 with the highest OSPF interface priority. Okay, on this multi-access network, BC1 will have the highest priority. Configure a default route to the ISP cloud using the exit interface command argument. Okay, a default route to ISP cloud should be configured on BC1. Okay, the default route configured on BC1. Automatically redistribute the default route to all routers in the network. So BC1 will redistribute to all OSPF routers on the network. Configure the OSPF route so that the gigabit Ethernet interface cost will be 10 and fast Ethernet will be 100. Okay, very good. And this is the auto cost reference band Y configuration. And configure the OSPF cost value of P2P1 Internet serial 011 to 50. This interface serial 011 and configure the cost for this interface to 50. Okay, for serial 11 on P2P1 router. And configure the hello and dead timer values on the interfaces that connect P2P1 and BC1 to be twice the default values. Okay, and on this link, on serial 020 on P2P1 and on serial on BC1, configure the hello and that timer values, okay, to be the twice the default values. Okay, then start with this router P2P1, configure terminal, okay, use process ID 10 router OSPF10, enter, and activate OSPF using network statements and inverse mask on the routers in the headquarters network. Okay, on these three routers, use network statements and inverse masks. Okay, and show the directly connected networks. Do show IP route connected and notify these three networks. Network 10.0.0.0. The wildcard for theory, remember, is 0.0.0.3 and area 0, single area. Now the another is 10.0.0.8, 3, area 0, and 10.0.0.12, 0.0.3, area 0. Okay, enter. Okay, configure OSPF so that the routing updates are not sent into the networks where they are not required. Okay, passive interfaces. No passive interfaces on this router because all neighbors are routers. Okay, all neighbors are routers. No passive interfaces. Configure OSPF routers so that the gigabit Ethernet interface cost will be 10 and the fast Ethernet cost will be 100. By default, the auto-cost reference bandwidth is 100 and represents 100 million or 100 megabits per second. Okay, megabits per second. For a gigabit interface, 1 gigabit or 1000 million, the cost is 0.1 and will be 1. And the cost for a fast Ethernet interface that is 100 million on 100 megabits per second, the cost is 1. For gigabit, cost will be 10, and for fast Ethernet, cost will be 100. Okay, if you set the autocost reference bandwidth to 1000, represent 1000 megabits or 1000 million. And for a gigabit interface, the cost is 1, and for fast Ethernet interface, the cost is 10. And if you set the autocost reference bandwidth to 10,000 and represent 10,000 million or 10 gigabits per second, the cost for a gigabit interface is 10 and the cost for a fast Ethernet interface is 100. So this is the case. Configure the autocost reference bandwidth to 10,000. Gigabit interface 10, the cost 10, and fast Ethernet cost 100. Okay, gigabit interface costs 10, and fast Ethernet interface costs 100. When the autocost reference bandwidth is 10,000 megabits per second. Okay, and this, if you configure a 10,000 autocost reference bandwidth, the point will be not count on the score. Okay, when you configure autocost reference bandwidth to 1000, the point will be considered on the score. So maybe it's trying to say here the gigabit interface cost will be 1 and the fast Ethernet cost will be 10. Gigabit interface cost will be 1 and fast Ethernet interface will be 10. And this is the case when you configure autocast reference bandwidth to 1000. So try with 1000. Okay, here on router configuration mode, auto dash cost reference dash bandwidth 1000. Okay, don't worry about this message. Configure the OSPF cost value of P2P1 interface serial 011 to 50. Okay, this interface serial 011 to 50. Okay, the cost to 50 on P2P1. Okay, this is on this router P2P-1, but on interface configuration mode. So exit and access this interface serial 011. Interface serial 011. Enter. And configure IP OSPF cost to 50. Enter. And configure the hello and dead timer values on the interfaces that connect P2P1 and BC1 to be twice the default values. Okay, between P2P1 and BC1, configure hello timer and dead timer. Okay, on P2P1 is serial 0 to 0. Okay, access here on P2P1 interface serial 0 to 0. Enter. And set IP OSPF. OSPF hello dash interval. Okay, by default, the hello interval is 10, and twice is 20. And IP OSPF that interval by default is 40, twice is 80. Enter. Exit. Okay, ready. Go to router 2 on headquarters. Enter. Enable configure terminal. Process ID 10. Router OSPF 10. Okay, activate OSPF using network statements and inverse mask on the routers in the headquarters network. Okay, on headquarters network statements and wildcard masks. Okay, so show the directly connected networks. Do show IP route connected. Enter. And advertise these 4 networks. Network 10.0.0.0. And remember the wildcard for 30 is 3 area 0. Okay, the another is 10.0.0.4. Okay, wildcard for 30 is 3 area 0. Very good. Okay, and there is an adjacency between router 2 and router 1. Okay, this is the log for this adjacency. And continue, advertise this to another networks. Network 192.168.1.0 and 424 is 255 area 0 and 192.168.2.0. Okay, enter. Configure OSPF so that the routing updates are not sent into the networks where they are not required. Okay, configure passive interfaces, passive-interface. On this side, the router 2 on this side has a neighbor, and on this another side has another neighbor. And on gigabit 000, no OSPF neighbor, no router, so configure gigabit 000 as passive interface, and also gigabit 001. Okay, passive interface gigabit 00. 0 and passive interface gigabit 001. Configure the OSPF router so that the gigabit Ethernet interface cost will be 1 and fast Ethernet cost will be 10. Okay, and auto-cost reference bandwidth 1000. Okay, reference bandwidth 1000. Enter. Don't worry about this message. Okay, very good. Exit. Configure router 3. Enter. Enable configure terminal. Process ID 10. Router OSPF 10. Okay. Network statements and inverse mask on headquarters. Okay, and show directly connected networks to show IP route connected. Okay, these 3 directly connected networks. Network 10.0.0.4. Wildcard for 30 is 3 and area 0. Enter. And you will have a neighbor adjacency with router 2. Okay, and continue 10.0.0.8 wildcard 3 area 0. Okay, and wait a moment, and you will have a neighbor adjacency with R1. And finally, the third directly connected network. Enter network 192.168.30.28. The wildcard for 28 is 15. Okay, and area 0. Enter. Okay, passive interfaces. Okay, there is only one passive interface, gigabit 000. Okay, passive interface gigabit 000. Enter. Okay, auto-cost reference bandwidth, auto-cost space reference bandwidth space 1000. Enter. Okay, exit. Very good. Now continue with data services. 3 routers on data services, and start with router 1. Click here. Command line interface. Enter enable configure terminal. Process ID 10. Router OSPF 10. Activate OSPF by configuring the interfaces of the network devices in the data service network. Configure the router IDs on the multi-access network routers BC1 6.6.6.6. Okay, configure router ID on router configuration mode. Router ID 6. Enter. Configure OSPF so that the routing updates are not sent into the networks where they are not required. Okay, passive interfaces. Okay, on this interface serial 011 you have OSPF neighbor. Okay, on gigabit 000 you have 2 OSPF neighbors. So the passive interface should be this another serial interface. The interface on BC1 the interface connected to the ISP cloud is serial 011 and is passive because serial 011, the connection to the cloud, will not be part of the OSPF process. It's the connection to internet. Okay, serial 011. Okay, serial 011, the connection to ISP cloud. Okay, go to BC1, passive-interface serial 011. Enter. Okay, configure BC1 with the highest OSPF interface priority. Okay, I will do it in the next step. Okay, configure a default route to the ISP cloud using the exit interface. Okay, it should be configured on BC1, but I will do it on the next step and automatically distribute the default route to all routers in the network. So this default route should be redistributed to all routers on the network. Okay, and go to BC1 and use default dash information space originate enter. Okay, and this command will redistribute the default static route configured on BC1 will be redistributed to all OSPF routers. Okay, this is auto-cost reference bandwidth, auto-cost reference bandwidth 1000, enter. Okay, and don't worry about this message and should be configured on all routers. Please ensure reference bandwidth is consistent across all routers. Okay, so that's why I'm configuring this on all routers. Okay, exit. Activate OSPF by configuring the interfaces of the network devices in data service network. Okay, here configure interfaces for OSPF. Okay, first show the interfaces. BC1 has 3 interfaces, and you can do the following: do show IP interface brief, enter, and you will see 3 interfaces with IP addresses. Okay, and gigabit 000 is this, and serial 010 is the connection to headquarters, and serial 011 the connection to ISP cloud. And the connection to ISP cloud will not be part of OSPF configuration. So only configure gigabit 000 and serial 010. Okay, first gigabit 000, interface gigabit 000, IP OSPF, process 10, process ID 10, area 0. Enter. And serial 010, okay, interface serial 010, enter the same command, IP OSPF, process ID 10, area 0, enter. And also, don't forget that configure router BC1 with the highest OSPF interface priority, so that it will always be the designated router of the multi-access network. Okay, configure gigabit 000 with the highest priority possible. Okay, access interface gigabit 000 and IP OSPF priority, and the highest priority is 255. Okay. Okay, configure the default route. Okay, I will do it on next step and configure the hello and that timer values on the interfaces that connect P2, P1, and BC1 to be twice the default values. Okay, this link changed the hello timer and that timer. Okay, and on BC1 configure serial 010. Okay, interface serial 010 and IP OSPF hello interval. Okay, the default is 10, so twice is 20, and that interval, the default is 40, twice is 80. Enter. Okay, enter. Now you have an adjacency and this adjacency is router P2P1 on headquarters. Okay, exit, and on global configuration mode, don't forget to configure a default route to the ISP cloud using the exit interface. The default route to the ISP cloud should be configured on BC1. IP route, the default route, and use the exit interface. The exit interface is serial 011. Serial 011. Enter. Okay. Don't worry about this message, and very good. Okay, now configure BC2. Enter, enable, configure, terminal, process ID 10, router, OSPF, OSPF10. Okay, configure router IDs. BC2 is 5, router ID 5555. And okay, passive interfaces. Okay, no OSPF neighbors here, and passive interface gigabit 000. Okay, passive dash interface gigabit 000. Enter. Auto cost reference bandwidth, auto dash cost reference dash bandwidth 1000. Okay, and activate OSPF by configuring the interfaces on the network devices in data service. Okay, here only on interfaces. Okay, go to BC2, exit, two interfaces, to show IP interface brief, enter. Two interfaces with IP addresses, gigabit 000 and gigabit 001. Interface gigabit 000, IP OSPF 10, area 0, and gigabit 001, the same command, IP OSPF 10, area 0, exit. Very good. And now BC3. Enter, enable, configure terminal, router, OSPF 10, enter. Okay, ID 10, and BC3 is 4, router dash ID 444, enter. Passive interfaces, passive interface gigabit 000, passive dash interface gigabit 000, enter. Auto cost reference bandwidth, auto dash cost reference dash bandwidth, and 1000, enter. Okay, exit and configure on interfaces. Show the interfaces, two interfaces. Do show IP interface brief. Okay, gigabit 000 and gigabit 001. Interface gigabit 000, IP OSPF10 area 0, gigabit 001, IP OSPF10 area 0. It's very good. Okay, and finally, test connectivity. Go to PC1, desktop, command prompt, ping to laptop 1. Laptop 1 IP address is 192.168.220. Okay, go to PC1, 192.168.220. Success. From PC1 ping to server. Server IP address is 192.168.314. Go to PC1, ping 192.168.314. Enter. Success. From PC1 ping PC2. PC2 IP address is 192.168.440. Okay, go to PC1, 192.168.440. Success. And from PC1 ping PC3. PC3 IP address 192.168.550. On 192.168.550. Success. And finally, ping the internet server 2030.113.100. Okay, go to PC1, ping 2030.113.100. Success. Very good. And for example, go to router P2P-2, okay, the router 2 on headquarters. Click here and verify the routing table. Enable show IP route. Okay, directly connected networks 1, 2, 3, 4 directly connected networks with letter C. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. OSPF routes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and OSPF letter O 10008 is this. 10012 is this. 10010 10010 is this. 192.168.30 192.168.30 this. 192.168.40 192.168.40 this. 192.168.50 192.168.50. Very good. And finally, the default route. Okay, the default route propagated on OSPF, propagated by BC1 using OSPF to reach internet. Okay, very good. And you can verify this on any other router. Okay. Completion 100%. Thank you very much.